Football fans, welcome to this episode of a little podcast that we like to call Two Vits Talking Shit. My name's Michael Vitt. That is Mike Vitt. He's on that side, actually. All right? And we're just a father and son who love to talk sports. All right? And we're entering, is it week 15? Or
15.
Week 15 of the NFL season. There's 4 weeks left, folks. 4 weeks left. All right? And
so sad.
I know. It's getting there. College football's entering the playoffs. Regular football's winding down. We're in the last quarter. All right? But we got some shit to talk about today. There are 9 NFL teams officially eliminated from the playoff race. I would argue that there's another 5 teams that are still in the race, but they're not. It's not statistically possible. All right? And
5 more, you said? You have
5 teams that are statistically still in it, but are probably not happening. And then we've got 4 teams who are on that bubble. All right? We've got another 14 teams who are fighting for it. We've got a lot of talk about today, Dad. Now, usually we open every episode by talking about our 2 favorite teams. I'm a Lions fan, of course, and he is
a Raiders fan.
Now, I don't think we're going to be discussing much about the Raiders as they have been eliminated entirely. The only thing of note to talk about is Geno Smith is hurt and probably not playing this week, but that's a good thing in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. But let's talk about the Lions. Let's talk about the Lions real quick. All right. The Lions are the 8th seed in the NFC playoff picture, or NFC playoff race, which means they are just outside of being in the playoffs right now. They're a game behind the Bears and the Niners, and they are they're a game and a half behind the Packers for their division. It's tight for the Lions, but they are right now the closest team to making it into the playoffs of the teams that are outside of it. They've got a 50% chance to be in the playoffs right now, and they've got a rough schedule ahead of themselves, but I do think they're going to make it in. They're going to eke it in, but I do think they're going to make it in.
What's the remaining schedule?
They have the Rams, the Steelers, the Vikings, the Bears. They're in, I believe they're in LA. Then they're at, let's see. Let me check. I don't want to be wrong. Yes, they are playing in LA at home against the Steelers, and then they're playing in Minnesota and in Chicago. So it's going to be a tough one.
So that week 18 in Chicago could potentially be ginormous.
Could be the deciding factor for which 2 teams are making it. Yeah, it's huge.
8-5. I'm scared for them, to be honest.
I'm not, surprisingly.
Really? I mean, they looked so good last week. Like, we were on the phone.
They looked phenomenal
talking
last
about
week.
it, and I had nothing but just old, like last year last year vibes of them just owning basically every team that they played. And just the vibe was there. Like, if you look at the stats and you look at the game, they're there as well. But I mean, like, just the feeling of the past couple years Lions was there for probably the first time all season.
Yeah.
For me anyways, just it just kind of all came together. That I thought Dan Campbell did a really good job coaching, calling a good game, and kind of got away from some of the things that I think cost them a couple games this year. But if they look like that same team that they were on Thursday night, then I think that they will get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I just have a concern that I haven't seen that all year. And maybe it's just the case where they're getting hot at the right time, though.
That's why I'm more confident about it. First things first is, the Rams are the number 1 seed in the NFC. They're really, really good, right? That game is going to be a decider, right? Lions lose that game, they still have a chance to make the playoffs. What I'm more confident is I think the Lions are figuring it out at the right time, even though they're riddled with injuries once again. Brian Branch tore his Achilles this week, so he's out for the season. But what they got is they got grit, man. It's like the whole thing they have. They got grit. They fight for it. And, I think they've played their best football in the last quarter of every season in the last couple years. And then when they get to the playoffs and they crumble. But I think that's when they play their best ball. When they're in that last section, the year that they didn't make it to the playoffs and they went 9-8, year 2 of the Dan Campbell regime, they went on a tear. It was like an 8-game win streak to end the season. They went from 1-8 to 9-8, right? I think they find their stride in the last last couple weeks of the season. So I'm not worried. I really am worried just about this week because it is the Rams and they are so good. I'm not sure how you stop current leader of the MVP race, Matthew Stafford, with his weapons and Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua and their run game and their amazing defense. But, if there's one team that's going to fight for it, it's got to be the Lions because they need to. So I'm not super worried when it comes to the rest of the season, though. And in all honesty, if the Lions barely miss the playoffs, I'll be really disappointed. So I'm hoping that they don't barely miss the playoffs. But in terms of what they have coming up, I think this week is a good week for them. I think they need to win this game, right? They're going to play all out for it. And I think they'll put up a good fight. Their backup DBs that they have to be put in have already shown up this year once, right? We had the Legion of Whom show up in the middle of the season when all of our DBs were injured. So I imagine they'll show up again for us. The biggest scare, of course, is the O-line. But last week they looked really good. They looked really, really good. And it seems like if they can continue to look as good as they looked last week, we're going to be okay. But let's move on from that. Let's talk about the other side of the league. We got one big thing that happened this week on the other side of the league. The Colts starting QB, Danny Dimes, tore his Achilles as well, right?
Yeah. I'm so bummed. I mean, preseason, first pod this year that we did, preseason, we covered all the teams. I spent an inordinate amount of time talking about the Colts because I just had a feeling that the Colts were going to take the NFL by storm this year, and they came out of the gates doing exactly that. And Daniel Jones looked like he was home, like he would finally found a spot that was going to, there's going to be the right spot. The team needed him as much as he needed the team and the offense, and the team looked awesome. They have an awesome offensive line. And probably the league's best running back this year.
Jonathan Taylor is the class. Him and Jahmyr Gibbs are like top two for sure.
Yeah, and a really good defense, and it sort of started to fall apart, and they ended up, I think they're 8-5 right now, maybe 8-5. Yeah, I think 8-5. But even the last few weeks, they just didn't look exactly the same. Daniel Jones, starting quarterback, was actually playing this last week with a fractured fibula.
Yeah.
And which is crazy. Can't believe that he's playing football. And I think that I don't know that it's that they know exactly like a percentage wise or exactly, but I believe that contributed to him in this game where he's playing with a broken fibula in one leg, that he tears the Achilles in his other leg.
I know. Crazy.
And shocking. I think that the athletes these days that are so big and fast and strong that when you start overcompensating for one part of the body, that it puts so much pressure on another part of the body. And I mean, I've watched sports my entire life, in basketball and football in particular, but baseball as well. And I've never seen in the last 5 to 8 years so many Achilles tendons being torn. Yeah. And so often, in fact, I can't even think Kevin Durant did it when he had a pre-existing injury. They're almost all coming either at advanced age or advanced age with an existing injury where they're compensating for something else, and then they blow out their Achilles. Yep. And so once again, the Achilles tear has taken another athlete, which is kind of a bummer. And I sort of don't have a whole lot of hopes for the Colts, who are on the outside looking in as it stands right now.
No.
Anyways,
but there's some hope.
But the second part of that news,
there's some hope.
Go ahead. What's the second part of that news?
Phillip Rivers, 5 years retired, is coming back, baby, for the Indianapolis Colts. That is right. Yeah. Granddaddy Phillip is back. Yep.
Hasn't taken a snap in 5 years. He last played for the Indianapolis Colts. He actually finished just out of the final round of voting for a Hall of Fame vote this last year. Which the time clock for that will have to start over again, because you have to be out of football for 5 years before you can be eligible to be voted into the Hall of Fame.
I have a question about that.
And so, yeah.
So if he plays the game, right? And then the Hall of Fame clock resets for him. Does it count if he becomes a first ballot Hall of Famer in 5 years? Or is it technically not first ballot because he was, right? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Technically, it wouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer because he's already been on a ballot. But then again, he entered the league before the Hall of Fame race ended for the first year that he was allowed to be in it. So how do we quantify that?
So I don't know, but I'll tell you this: if he somehow manages to pull Indianapolis not only into the playoffs but into a Super Bowl appearance,
he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care if they win.
He will. I don't care.
He
will. There will be no more questions because he is a fringe, and depending on who you talk to, a fringe Hall of Famer. He does not have any Super Bowl wins.
Nope.
But the amount of years he played and the stats he put up, and if you watch with your eyes and got to watch Phillip Rivers play football for the Chargers for most of his career, and then for the Colts at the end, he's a fringe guy. And there's a lot of arguments that can be made as to why yes or why no. But if he can pull Indianapolis into a deep run into the playoffs and into a Super Bowl even, then I think that he would answer all those questions.
It all. Yeah,
now, having said that, he's going to be like one of only 4 players ever to take a snap at starting quarterback at the age of 44 years old.
Yeah.
And so that is not something that happens very often. From the reports I've seen, he physically looks, or mentally, he's sharp as a tack. He's been coaching his high school.
With the same offense the Colts are running.
And so, and physically, what the reports are, his arm looks alive.
Yeah, his arm looks good, but otherwise, he's
44 years old, out of football for 5 years. I don't know how that's going to look if he gets out on that football field.
Here's the positives. Okay, Colts O-line is very talented. Very good O-line, right?
Okay. Yes,
Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in the league. All Phillip Rivers needs to do is take snaps and sling that rock to a guy without throwing an interception in the pocket. He doesn't have to run. He doesn't have to go anywhere. All right? He's a turret who sits still, and he just needs to throw that ball or hand it off. And maybe catch an 8-yard pass to overpass Tom Brady as the second most receiving yards at the age of 40 or older. But
man,
it's going to be tough. I hope he plays. I mean, I think he's going to play.
Oh, he's going to play. He's going to play.
But here's the thing is if they lose to Seattle this week, they're almost eliminated from the playoffs, essentially. So is he going to play against Seattle this week? Because the discussion is maybe, right? I think
their backup, their quarterback who went in after Daniel
got hurt
Jones
as well.
got hurt, Riley Leonard is hurt as well.
Yeah, they have basically nothing. Their third string quarterback right now is Tyler Warren, their rookie tight end, and he's only third string because now Phillip Rivers is on the team. So it's kind of a mess. It's honestly shocking to see a QB room collapse as much as theirs did. They started the season with Daniel Jones starting, Anthony Richardson as their backup, and now they're on to a guy I don't even know who their starting quarterback is right now, and Phillip Rivers is the backup. So it's a mess. I'm excited. I think not only am I rooting for them to beat the Seahawks this week because I want them to win, but it's great for the Lions if the Seahawks lose too. So I'll be watching that game closely. I guess.
Oh yeah, that'll definitely be on the big TV.
I guess we're gonna bounce it over to the team that they're playing. Then let's move on over to the Seahawks.
Okay.
Seahawks this week have the Colts, right? And obviously they're very heavily favored to win that game. I think they're a better team overall. They right now have a 99% chance or 98% chance to make it to the playoffs. If they beat the Colts this week, they are almost assuredly guaranteed in the playoffs. And if they lose, they still have a 90% chance. I don't think there's much
better than 90% chance, right? I think
it's a 93% chance. Yeah. I don't think there's much to talk about the Seahawks other than really, are they going to get the first seed in the NFC? Because if the Rams end up losing a game and the Rams end up losing to the Lions this week and the Seahawks win, Seahawks are the number 1 seed in the NFC now. So that's the big story. It's a big thing. I don't have much to talk about really for the Seahawks because they're just kind of a well-oiled machine. It was a scary first half against the Falcons this week. I don't know how the Falcons kept that game close for a half, but then the Seahawks kind of said bye and then walked away with that game. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on the Seahawks other than they're just kind of rolling right now?
No, I mean as long as Sam Darnold, starting quarterback, can continue to do what he's doing with arguably the best receiver in the NFL right now. I'd say the last 2 or 3 weeks. I don't have his exact numbers.
It's 1,438 yards on the season for JSN.
But the last couple of weeks have not been particularly great. They've been okay, but they haven't been like crazy good like they had been the first maybe 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So. But between those two and then getting great contributions actually from their two running backs, Charbonnet and Walker, they look good. They got a pretty good defense too. So really I think it's about, is Sam Darnold going to hold it together?
Yeah, I guess that's the big question, right? Last year he crumbled.
And honestly, between the Rams and the Seahawks, they one of those two is winning the division or they're going to win the number 1 seed. And so whichever one doesn't win the number 1 seed, they're still going to both make the playoffs. I mean, the Rams have a 98% chance to make the playoffs, win or lose this week, and the Seahawks have the same percentage, 98. So it really comes down to between just which team's going to win, get that first round bye.
Yeah.
So no, that's about it for them. You want to run on next team?
Yeah. I mean, let's move on to the Rams then, right? Rams have the Lions this week at home.
Yeah.
In all honesty, they are the best team in the NFL right now, hands down.
Rams?
Yeah. Nobody comes close.
They're definitely the most talented, I think.
No, I don't. Yeah, coaching is there, right? McVay is definitely one of the best coaches in the league. Stafford is by far the best quarterback who's been playing this year. He's got Puka and Devontae as his 2 starting wide receivers. And then you look at their defense, and you've got Jared Verse, you've got so much going on the defense. It's just it's hard. It's hard to even. The only thing they don't have is a fan base, I'd argue. I don't think their home games are home games. So, I
don't think it's required to win.
If there's one thing going against them this week, it's that they're probably not going to have a home crowd, even though they're at home. But I mean, they're steamrolling. The NFC as a whole is theirs to lose. I don't know what needs to happen. Like, I mean, it's really like this week is huge for them, but they end the season with playing the Seahawks, the Falcons, and the Cardinals. So they need some serious shit to happen these next 2 weeks, right? Against the Lions and the Seahawks, for them to maybe lose the first seed. But, once they get past that, like week 18, they might not be playing a single starter. Like, just because they might already have the first seed locked. So we'll see what happens. The
Lions this week and then
the Seahawks next week.
That's really, in fact, it really doesn't matter to the Rams what happens this week. To be quite frank, it doesn't matter because their concentration is going to be all on the Seahawks because that's really what it comes down to. If they can beat the Seahawks, and then the last 2 games of the season are against what should be layups, then they basically are. So that may or may not bode well for the Lions, and from the standpoint that the Rams might be looking past the Lions. I mean, I don't think NFL teams generally do that, and I certainly don't think a team of the Rams caliber does that very often. But
I don't think they will either. They don't have a good history against the Lions the last couple of years, anyways. Right? I don't think they've beat the Lions since the Lions smacked them in the playoffs 2 years ago. Right?
Okay.
So it's definitely not a game they can look past. And 2 weeks ago they had that uncharacteristic loss to the Panthers where their defense looked so terrible. So I'm not saying the Panthers are a bad team, although I have said it the whole year.
Panther.
Although I've said it the whole year, I don't think the Panthers are a bad team. They definitely are frisky and fighting for it, but giving up what?
Frisky.
They are frisky. Giving up 43 points to the Panthers is definitely not something they've done all year. So, we'll see. Again, theirs to lose, but I guess I'll keep the train rolling. Let's discuss the Panthers, huh? let's discuss the Carolina Panthers, who are not going to make it into the playoffs off of a wild card spot, but they do have a chance to make it in off of winning their division because currently they are tied for first place in their division. Only reason why they are not number one is because they lose the head-to-head divisional record, right, against the Bucs. So this is a huge game, right?
Yeah. Well, the Panthers' rest of the season is they play the Saints, which the Saints just beat the Buccaneers, wild as that is.
Yeah.
And then they play the Bucs, which is going to be a huge game because potentially if they beat the Saints, they play the Bucs. That's going to be 4 plays. And then they play the Seahawks, which is going to be a tough one. And then who do they play again to end the season?
The Bucs.
The Bucs.
Yeah.
So
no, okay. But let's flip it.
They absolutely control their entire destiny.
They do.
Is what they do in the next 4
weeks. It's 4 weeks, right? It's the next 4 weeks.
Not 4 weeks. Yeah.
But let's flip it though. Let's look at the Bucs too. The Bucs have the Falcons at home this week. Then they obviously have the Panthers. Then they have the Dolphins, and they have the Panthers again, right? And they're just getting off
favorable schedules. Yes.
They're just getting some key players back off of IR. Mike Evans was just activated off of IR, and that's huge for them. So, the Bucs, in all honesty, have been trending way down, and the Panthers have been trending way up. Right? Bucs barely lost to the Bills. It starts off. They lost to the Patriots, the Bills, the Rams, barely beat the Cardinals, lost to the Saints, right? They're trending way down. They look like trash right now, which sucks because I like them. But, and the Panthers are way up. So who knows? And we know, discussion about the Falcons. The Falcons decide to show up once every other week, and they didn't show up last week. So who knows? Maybe the Falcons show up this week. That could ruin the Bucs. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, Panthers looking electric. They have been playing really well.
So was your argument there that the Bucs are gonna?
No, my argument is the Panthers are looking good because of are looking like potentially a sure shot because of the Bucs. Now, to be fair, for whatever reason, the Panthers only have a 40% chance to make it to the playoffs if they win this week, and if the Bucs lose, they drop to a 50% chance. So this week for both teams doesn't really matter. What ultimately matters is the 2 games they have head to head against each other, right?
Well, those are the biggest things. Yeah, I mean, they still need to.
Because the Panthers could lose both games against the teams that aren't the Bucs, but if they beat the Bucs twice, they're in, right? Because the Bucs will have the same record as them.
Depending on what the Bucs do.
Well, if the Bucs win both of their games against away opponents, and the Panthers win both games against the Bucs, the Panthers go in because they have the same record as the Bucs.
Yeah,
right?
Assuming that they have the same record.
So
yes,
it doesn't matter what either team does outside of playing each other. Like genuinely, it doesn't matter what either team does outside of playing each other. Any response?
Well, I mean.
That's what it is.
Assuming that they win both of their games, other than the ones they play against each other. Yes.
True. But
I mean, if the Bucs lose both of theirs and the Panthers win both of theirs, or vice versa, then it 100% matters.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, I think that when you look at the opponents that both of those teams are playing, we're sort of penciling in that they're going to win those other 2 games.
They should, in theory, win both of those games.
They should, in theory. You're right. But I will say this: I just want to give a shout out to my buddy who is in Florida this week. He went to go see the Buccaneers play the Saints. Picked that game for him and his wife to go to because it was supposed to be a layup. So
it was not a layup.
I felt very bad for my friend Kevin. Sorry about that.
Shout out Kevin.
But that's how the NFL works, which is why I'm saying we can pencil them in that the Bucs are going to beat the teams that they're supposed to, and also that the Panthers are. But let's make sure that we got an eraser for that pencil because we don't freaking know.
Yeah. I mean.
And I will say, you're right. The Buccaneers have trended so far down. It was so sad. I talked very highly about them and a lot of the things they were doing well at the beginning and middle part of the season. And
they're beaten and battered.
Vice versa. Yeah, and then vice versa, kind of the opposite for what we thought about the Panthers to start the year. And whoop-de-doo, look what's happening here. So
yeah.
Okay, so that's the pack. That's what I'd say. That's probably
the Panthers and the Bucs. Yeah. We discussed the whole NFC South just now.
Did we really?
Yeah. Okay, I mean, there's nobody else left in that division.
All right. Get to it.
Man, where do you want to go from here? Let's talk top of the AFC.
Well, no, you want to stick in the let's finish out the NFC.
Okay, let's finish out the NFC. All right, well
we
then
still have what? The Eagles?
We have
Niners,
a lot left in the NFC. Well, let's start at the bottom of the NFC then. We have the Vikings and the Cowboys are both playing each other this week. Both of them are barely at the edge of potentially being in the playoffs. The Vikings have no chance to make it to the playoffs, in all honesty. It's 1% win or lose. And the Cowboys, if they win, have a 15% chance to make it in.
Not even talking about
realistically, both teams are eliminated. So JJ McCarthy had a good week though. Maybe he's bouncing back. Who knows? We just talked to Panthers. We talked to Lions. Let's move on to the Bears. The Bears are the 7th seed in the NFC playoff picture. They play Cleveland this week.
Which
they lost to the Packers this week.
So going into last week, before they lost to the Packers, they were the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Yes.
Going into last week.
And
now they're the 7th seed,
which
is wild. That's why we're talking about the playoffs every week until we get to the Super Bowl, because this is how crazy it can be. From 1 to 7th seed.
Quickly, just like that. Yeah. So the Bears have the Browns this week. It's going to be an interesting one. Shador and the Browns, although losing to the Titans this week, looked really good. I would argue that Shador looked really good. I'm not going to argue anybody else looked really good, but Shador had a really great game. Now, he's going to be playing in Chicago in the weather, so we'll see how that looks for him. But, just off of what happened last week, I'm kind of excited to watch them play the Bears. The Bears are a great team. They're super talented, but they don't have a passing game at all. It's non-existent. Caleb Williams is still struggling to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I would argue that the final play of that game against the Packers last week, when he had an open guy, he threw that game away by throwing that interception in the end zone. I think if the Bears' run game can hold up, which in theory it should, it's really good, they should win this game. But Myles Garrett is definitely the front runner of Defensive Player of the Year. And he gets pressures, man. He gets pressures. I don't know if Caleb Williams is going to be able to stand up against Myles Garrett all week or all game. And so that's kind of the big thing. If the Bears end up losing this game and the Lions end up pulling out a game against the Rams, the Lions will be in the playoffs. And the Bears will be out of the playoffs.
Well, yeah, with 3 more games to play, so no,
3 more games to play, but yes, the Lions will bump into it, I believe. The Bears currently have a 63% chance to make it in. If they win, they have a 70% chance, and if they lose, they drop to a 45% chance. So it's going to be huge for them to win this game, but who knows? The Browns might show up, man. If there's one thing they can do is they can play spoiler really well. So I don't know. I'm actually kind of leaning towards the Browns here, not just because I'm a Lions fan, but Caleb Williams has not played good all year, statistically, when you look at it. And I think if that Browns D-line can get pressure on him, they're going to have a really hard time offensively. Defensively, they're really talented, but I don't know. The Browns kind of suck one way or another. They've found ways to win on offense this year, barely in some games. But yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning a little bit towards the Browns, not heavily, just barely. I think it's a closer game than people think, though.
Yeah. So a couple of things sort of in response to that. I don't think Caleb Williams is having a terrible year. I don't think the Bears passing game is non-existent. I think that Caleb Williams makes some inopportune mistakes. And as you stated at the end of last game, looking at that play, he had a lot of options to make it work and ended up throwing an interception, which is a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
His QBR's passer rating and his completion percentage is not good. So you're right on a lot of levels surfacely.
Yeah.
Watching the games, he is improving, but certainly not at the pace that I think that people thought he would.
Yeah.
For this game specifically, the Browns, Myles Garrett, I believe, will be the new single season sack record holder after the end of this game. I think he is 2 away or 2.5 away. in what will be a 15-game season. So it's not going to come in the extended extra game.
Yeah.
So he will beat
you
it
think
legitimately.
He's going to get at least 2 this week?
I think he just needs 2, if I'm not mistaken.
He's at 20 sacks right now. And the sack record's 22,
and the record's
right?
22. I think the record's 22.5 by Strahan.
Yeah, so he needs to get 3 sacks this week, which I think he can get. That Bears O-line is good, but it ain't Myles Garrett good. That is
No, he's just been, Myles Garrett's in, he just signed that huge contract last year. But like that I think that was his 3rd contract, so he's not a young guy. But man, he's just been an absolute.
Yeah, Myles Garrett has been playing in the NFL for 8 years now.
Which is a long time to be dominant as he has.
Mm-hmm.
For as long as he has since he's gotten into the league. Yeah, so Michael Strahan's record, I was correct, was set in 2001. It's 22.5.
Yep. I mean, there's an argument for Myles Garrett to be the best defensive player to never win a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
it's up there.
TJ Watt tied it in
TJ Watt tied it.
Either way, it's 22.5.
Yeah.
And with
was it TJ or
let's see,
JJ? It was JJ.
No, it's TJ.
TJ tied it? Oh, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, JJ got close. He never did though.
Yeah, and so we have. Let's see. This is game 14, 15, 16. He's got 3 more games, but I think it could happen in this game.
4 more games.
Well, he does, but 3 more games to compare it to the exact same number of games that Strahan and TJ Watt had to do it.
Yeah.
I know the records don't change. It's not like there's an asterisk next to them when you haven't the added games, because you just can't do that. I mean, it is what it is. But for an old hat like myself, I like to compare them, apples to apples, the same amount of games per season.
I think he's going to break it for sure. I mean,
yeah, but he can break it this year. He can break it this week, and if he does, that could potentially spell bad news for how the game's going for the Bears. For
the Bears, exactly. So, yeah, I mean,
we shall see.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I think this is another game that I'm gonna have on. I don't know if everybody would want to have it on, but I sure do, because
I'm gonna have it on too. Sidebar.
I definitely want to see it. Yeah,
and I also want to see if Shedeur was named the starting quarterback for the remainder of the year for the Browns. And we talked a little bit about that situation last week, but after this week, he had a good game last week. I mean, definitely did not lose because of him. And so
I mean,
I'd like to see if he builds on that.
365 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception, and then also a rushing touchdown. Yeah, it was a really bad interception, but then also a rushing touchdown too. I mean, he looked really, really good statistically, but also watching the game, he looked really good as well. So I'm excited to watch him play, and man, it would be awesome if I got to watch him beat the Bears this week. So
that would be nice. Yeah, would be
I've also been playing devil's advocate for him all year, so it's nice to see if that pays off. Next team, we have the Niners. Niners are next. They play Tennessee this week. I mean, what is there to talk about for the Niners other than they finally got their bye? I'm not saying they're a healthy team, but man, they finally got that break. They finally got that break to at least get everyone a little bit better. And they're going into a game at home against the Titans, and then they play the Colts, the Bears, and the Seahawks to end the season. So really they have 2 weeks of like, okay, we're off the bye. Let's just handle our business. These are 2 games we should easily win, right? Mm-hmm. They need to come in, take care of business, and then they have to play, the Bears and the Seahawks, which could be games that decide a lot or could mean nothing, depending on how the next 2 weeks go for the rest of those teams. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Shanahan's coach of the year right now, hands down. That team should not be 9-4 with everything that's gone on this year. The fact that they were able to get Mac Jones to come in and play as good as Mac Jones played, the fact that they were be able to bounce off of all the injuries they've had this year. And honestly, I think because of where their bye was, it was in the best spot their bye could have been all year. For how they've played, they're probably going to roll into the playoffs as top 2 or 3 top 2 or 3 team that's in the playoffs. I mean, they still have a chance to win their division and be number 1.
Yeah.
So I just don't know what to say other than the NFC West is by far the best division in football. If we omit the fact that there's one team in there that we don't need to talk about, the Cardinals. But wow, what are we doing?
As banged up as they are, they're only a game behind the Rams and the
Only a game
Seahawks.
behind the number 1 seed, dude.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
it is pretty amazing, and it definitely between Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh, their defensive coordinator, who has just done a phenomenal job
So
putting together
good.
that defense.
Yeah.
Like it's just wild and crazy. And I think that even a couple weeks ago, I think you, probably me as well, were talking about how they just don't have a chance.
Yeah.
At least that was my feeling. Surface level was kind
Well,
of like I was watching them win, but I still was like, nah, I just don't believe. And here we are now at 9-4, and potentially, I mean, it's a slim chance, but they could end up being. They could potentially be the number 1 seed in a division that is probably arguably the best in all of football right now. So it's crazy.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's
So
great.
okay, and
I'm
then
excited to watch.
what's the last?
And then there's 3 more teams. Well, there's 2 more teams we haven't talked about. So we
Wow.
go 5 is the Seahawks, 4 is the Bucks. Then we have the Eagles to talk about. They play Las Vegas Raiders this week. They need a get right game, and we've talked about it all
Well,
year.
here we come. Here we come, baby.
The Raiders seem to be the get right team. So yeah, they had a terrible loss on Monday night against the Chargers. Really, there's one person that caused that downfall, and his name is Jalen Hurts. He played like Dookie. 4 interceptions, the game-ending interception. What are
He
you gonna
did
say?
set a record though. First time
yeah,
ever been
first
done
player
ever.
to throw an interception and fumble it in the same play.
To throw an interception and lose a fumble all in the same
play. Yeah. Crazy. I think I started the season by saying Jalen Hurts isn't. Yikes. He did prove me wrong though. He's been playing decent football, but that offense is not functioning properly, and it should be. They have a great running back, the best running back last year, right? With Saquon Barkley. They have 2 really great wide receivers. The big question is, why the hell can't Jalen Hurts make it work? Why the hell can't their offensive coordinator make it work? I'm not sure what's wrong with them, but halfway through the season, I was saying the Eagles are finding a way to win every week. So I'd argue that they're one of the best teams in the league. And now I'm sitting here thinking that they're probably the worst team that's currently in the playoffs right now. Even head to head against the Bucks, I think the Bucks might be a little bit better than them. So it's weird, man. They have all the talent in the world. They won a Super Bowl last year. They clearly are a really good football organization, but they just look like a mess. That's what I have to say.
They do look like a mess. Yeah, they do look like a mess. They're not playing particularly well at all. And the weirdest part about them is all the drama that comes out every single week.
That locker room's lost.
Yeah, it is sort of interesting dynamic. I'm not sure that I'm ready to say it's all Jalen Hurts. I don't think
it's not. It's very clearly not. It's offensive coordinator issues too. Their offensive coordinator.
I feel like he's the grown-up in the room. I mean, I feel like he's the only adult in the entire building, including their head coach.
He is, but he's playing the worst. That's what sucks.
I know. He doesn't look great, but I don't know. But I would tend to agree though, even though they're going to get into the playoffs because they're going to win their division. Most likely. I mean, I just don't see the Cowboys.
The Cowboys have to basically win out.
And I mean, because they do have a freebie this week. They're playing the Raiders, so they have a freebie.
In theory, they should be 9-5. Hey, the backup quarterback thing. Who knows? Maybe Kenny Pickett comes in and plays a great game. He played a really great end of a game last week. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But
okay. All right. So that's it for the NFC for actually the top 7 or 8 teams that contend.
Yeah. Well, hey, we've
so let's switch over.
Excuse you.
Oh, that's right. Okay, one more. Okay, one more. Go ahead.
I had a really awesome segue plan because the Packers play the Broncos this week, and I was gonna it was gonna be sick.
Sorry to anybody who's a Packers fan. I didn't intentionally forget you.
Number 2 in the NFC at 9-3-1. They have the Denver Broncos this week. They're playing the Denver Broncos. I believe they're playing them at Denver. So they're playing at Mile High. Both teams are teams that play in weather. I don't know if there is weather, but they should both be accustomed to it by now. The big thing is it's Toyotathon, Dad. And you know what happens in Toyotathon? Jordan Love slings that rock. Beginning of last week, Jordan Love threw an interception on like the second play of the game. And I made a very dumb comment along the lines of, what happened to Toyotathon Love? And then he proceeded to throw 3 touchdowns and win that game for his team. So Toyotathon love is in effect. Here's the big thing. The Broncos, number 1 in the AFC. They have a very, very talented defense, and they find ways to win. They really do. That offense has come alive. Most recently, they had a 44-point game against the Cowboys. They scored 18 on the best defense in the league as the Texans. They had a really rough game against the Raiders, but then since then, they've just kind of been rolling, dude. 22, 27, 24. Like, it's going to be a battle of defenses, I think, in all honesty, this week. Both teams, well, the Packers need this win. The Broncos are kind of secure at the top right now. They are almost assuredly in the playoffs. They're really just playing for the number 1 seed. And the Packers need this win because if they lose, they're giving the Lions and the Bears another game to catch up to them because that division's wide open, really, with these last 4 weeks coming in. So this is a game that the Packers need to win, which kind of makes me feel like they have the upper hand. I think Jordan Love has been playing better football than Bo Nix. I think the Packers' offense is arguably much better than the Broncos' offense, but I think that Broncos' defense has a bit of an edge on the Packers' defense. So we'll see what happens. But you have any thoughts?
I think the Packers are better than the Broncos.
I do too.
Yeah, I think the Packers are better than the Broncos. I think the weapons that Jordan Love has, and when Jordan Love is playing good football, which he has been the last couple weeks.
Toyotathon. Telling you.
And LaFleur has done a good job with that team. And they have a good running back and a good run game. So I think that the Packers are actually better than the Broncos. And I have not talked highly about the Broncos for much this year. I still am waiting for the bottom to drop out of them. I've given them a little bit more respect because, quite frankly, they do have the best record in the NFL, and they are the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. Mm-hmm. But I think that this is a very good measuring stick as to where the Broncos actually are. And, I've got a couple people who listen to us that are Broncos fans, and my statement to them was, if you are as good as you think you are, because they're fans of that team, then you shouldn't be too concerned about the Packers. But if it was me and I was a Denver Broncos fan, I would be concerned.
Yeah,
because I think the Packers are really good, and I think that how they, either one of these teams, both these teams, how they look in this game
decides how they're going to look for the rest of the year.
I think it'll really tell us actually where they're at. And I could see, either one of these teams representing their conference in the Super Bowl potentially. I do.
I could too, yeah. The Broncos. I mean, I think we've passed the Packers. We're at the Broncos now at this point, but the Broncos have a really rough schedule for the rest of this year. The only thing that's in their favor is that 3 of the games they have left to play are at home, which is nice. Mile High Stadium is not an easy stadium to play at. Yeah. So. They have the Packers, the Jags, the Chiefs, and the Chargers to end the year. So, Packers are definitely the best team they're going to play for the rest of the season. But the Jags are on a roll, right? They're leading their division. We don't need to discuss the Chiefs. And then the Chargers are, a really gritty, good team that plays really well. So.
And the Chargers are fighting for a playoff spot.
And the Chargers are fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah, that could be a division decider. Genuinely.
Yeah, and I don't think the Chiefs are all that good, so I can see why you look past them, but I don't look past them because I think that for all of the Chiefs' problems this year, that they're not going to roll over for a divisional opponent who they know they could potentially
spoil.
Put some hurting on them. So I don't know. I think you're right. I think that the Packers, the Jaguars, who are a playoff team this year,
they're third place in
Chiefs,
there.
And the Chargers is a gauntlet to end the season for the Broncos. And I think that if they can get through that with 3 wins out of that I would have to sort of eat all of my words on what I said about me not thinking that they're all that great.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion about the Patriots, where we were kind of discussing a couple weeks ago that the Patriots, if they want to prove that they're legit, they got to win, these next 5 upcoming games. Same thing goes for, the Broncos. And here it is. You got 4 games left to prove that you're legit. and there's a real chance you're not. Winning against the Packers is, in my opinion, the real decider. I think we both agree that the NFC is by far much better than the AFC this year. I think we both agree that the team that comes out of the NFC is probably going to win the Super Bowl. So
that's what I said last week, I believe.
Yeah. So I mean, we got to see what happens, but I mean, I'm high on the Packers winning this week. I'm not rooting for them, but I am high on them. Let's move on to the Pats.
Which is funny because the Broncos and the Pat. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was thinking the Broncos had the bye week. They didn't. They played the Raiders. Close enough.
Well, they did have a bye. Yeah. The Pats have the Buffalo Bills at home this week.
Yikes.
Yeah, and they're coming off a bye though.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a divisional game.
Yeah, this is a divisional game. I mean, if they lose, the Bills will have gained one game on them. So it's going to be huge. And now the Pats are, again, another team that are 100% basically in the playoffs at this point. Win or lose this week, they're going to be in the playoffs. What they're playing for is the division and potentially the first seed. So
they're playing for the first seed is really what they're playing for.
Well, if they lose to the Bills this week,
I know. I'm just looking at the rest of their schedule. They play the Ravens, and then they play the Jets and the Dolphins to close out the season.
True. But yeah, so this is a huge game. I think this is probably the most significant game the Patriots have left to play this year. The Bills are a really good football team, and they are playing really well. So we'll see what happens in this one.
We'll talk about them further down, but your statement that the Bills are a really good football team, I'd like to just make an adjustment and say the Bills are a really good football player.
Yes,
and his name's Josh Allen.
Well, okay.
I don't know about how good they are as a team, but
that
guy is amazing. We'll talk about that. Sorry.
That's true. Josh Allen is. But yeah, so again, I mean, I'm glad you said it, but the key to winning for the Patriots this week has nothing to do with anything other than can you stop Josh Allen from being Josh Allen? He is definitely the most talented quarterback in the league. He can run, he can pass. He could probably play defense. He could probably play any position you ask him to. I'm sure he could probably kick field goals for you too. He is Superman, and that is a blessing and a curse, because if you find a way to stop Josh Allen, which there have been some weeks this year where he's looked very rocky, that Buffalo Bills team falls apart. Now, Cook is a very talented running back, and I feel like that is kind of a little bit more important. If you can shut Cook down and turn it into a Josh Allen only game, you have a lot better chance. So that's what I'm more focused on is will the Patriots defense stop the run game for the Bills? And if they can stop the run game for the Bills, they might be favored a little bit more and have a better chance at winning this game. But yeah, I think it's really is the big question is, are you going to be able to stop Josh Allen this week? Because I don't think there's any other thing to talk about, really.
Okay. What's the next one? Are you going down the line?
I mean, let's talk Bills real quick. Again, Josh Allen. Josh Allen needs to play good. They have an above 90% chance, win or lose this week, to make it to the playoffs. They are playing for their division, right? That's what they're playing for. Their remaining schedule is the Browns, Eagles, Jets. So they have a similar remaining schedule to the Pats in the sense of they've got two kind of freebie games, if you think about it, and then 2 games against real opponents. I mean, I think the key for the Bills for the rest of the season is find a way to make your team more than just Josh Allen, right? Establish James Cook. James Cook's a really good running back. He's a really good running back. He was kind of what was keeping them alive early on in the season. So
he has the most fumbles this year.
Does he really?
Yeah, he's a fumble machine.
I did not know that. I do know that he's played really well, despite the fumbles.
He's had a couple of really big highlight games, but he's actually done quite a bit to hurt them.
Wow. Well, speak on that, my friend. Speak on that.
Well, I mean, it's just the facts. The facts are that the Bills, Josh Allen has no number one wide receiver, nobody that would be a one wide receiver on any other team in the NFL. And Cook has had a couple of games. I think he's got a 200-plus yard game this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's second in rushing yards this year. He's second in rushing yards.
He also turns the ball over like a machine. And Josh Allen's running for his life. He's best tight end has been hurt on and off. I think he played. Kincaid played last week.
Played last week.
And if you look at stats wise, as far as just throwing the ball, Josh Allen's had a really good year this year, statistical, at least as far as completion percentage. But I think that's more because he's been throwing the ball a lot less down the field.
Did you say he has?
A lot.
He has 6 fumbles on the year. He's only lost 3 of them, which is a lot. It's a lot. In his career, he's only had 12 fumbles total. So, but
that's a lot.
He's been a fumble machine in the last 5 games. In the last 5 games, he's had 5 fumbles. That's where it really is. It's recently he's been really bad. He's had 5 fumbles in the last 5 games. So yeah, he's had way too many fumbles. I agree.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to check it because he is again second most rushing yards in the league, 8 touchdowns. He averages 5.3 a carry. Like, he's playing really good.
Okay, well, it all goes through Josh Allen. You said a lot about that. So I was gonna say this later, but to speak on that, that's who you said Stafford's the clear number 1 MVP, and I would argue definitely my argument to that would be Josh Allen, because MVP is most valuable player to your team, and if you take Josh Allen off of the Bills,
they're a mess.
They're not making the playoffs. I can tell you that. In fact, they probably don't have a winning record, and so I don't know that you could put anybody on the Rams and have the success they're having. Because that would be disrespectful to say that to Matthew Stafford, excuse me. But there's a lot of quarterbacks who are not superstars who could fill in with the weapons he has with that coach and be okay.
Yeah.
And if you put anybody but Josh Allen on a team that's got a defensive-minded head coach who does nothing to help the offense, and even on the defensive side of the ball, the Bills are not very good this year. And the weapons or lack thereof that he has, other than the aforementioned Cook, I don't think there's a whole lot of people. There are a couple quarterbacks who could do it, but not many. And I would challenge you even on most of those that we would talk about that do not have the ability to run the football and do what Josh Allen does in the running game, as well as what he does in the passing game. There are other quarterbacks you might think that can run as well as him, but then I don't think they can throw as well as him. So that's I was gonna go into that a little bit later, but since we're here anyways, I thought I'd just toss that in. Josh Allen is, to me,
is your MVP.
Would be the MVP back-to-back years, simply because you cannot take him off that team and have that team.
My response to you is screw you. I don't want to see Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson winning MVPs over and over every year. But yeah, that's a good argument. That's a good argument.
Screw me, I didn't do it. I'm not the one out there playing. But okay, so that covers the Bills.
Yeah, let's cover the number 3 seed in the AFC, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They, as well, win or lose this week, have a 90% chance to make the playoffs. What they're really playing for is their division, right? The Texans are right behind them at 8-5. They're at 9-4. The Jaguars, though, have a really awesome schedule for the rest of the season. They play the Jets at home this week. They play the Broncos in Denver, and they have the Colts in Indianapolis, and then they have the Titans at home to end their season.
Oh my gosh.
The Jaguars might be frauds, might not be frauds. They are in the second worst division in football, in my opinion. They're just barely eking out the AFC North. But yeah, I think the Jaguars are doing really good for their first season head coach, Liam Cohen's first season. They've played really well, but
I knew they were going to be really good when his first press conference, when he busted out the
Duval. Yep.
And it's just been all. I mean, it rivaled the Dan Campbell.
It did rival the kneecaps. Yes, it did.
So how could you think that anything less than what happened as the Jaguars, who have been absolute donkey do for the last however many years, to bring in a new head coach who made an ass of himself in his opening press conference, and yet has somehow managed to
he's a great coach.
A 9-4 record despite their quarterback, who I will argue
being Trevor Lawrence. Yeah,
I will continue to argue that he is not good.
That is where I was going with this. I think the big story for the Jaguars is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is the big story. Clearly that team is talented. Clearly that team plays well. Their defense has been really good in these last couple of weeks. The only game where they really looked iffy was against the Cardinals when they went to overtime 3 weeks ago. But other than that, they held the Chargers to 6, they held the Titans to 3, and they held the Colts, which was the top offense in the league at the time, to under 20. I mean, although they had injuries, so what can we discuss about that? But either way, they've looked really good defensively. Offensively, in the last couple of weeks, Trevor Lawrence has looked good. No interceptions in the last 2 weeks. He's been throwing for just over 200 yards in both of the last couple of weeks, 2 touchdowns in each of those games. Again, that uncharacteristic game against the Cardinals, where he threw 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and gave the Cardinals a chance back into the game, was scary. But I think that's kind of what it is, right? Trevor Lawrence also decides if his team wins or loses. If he has a really, really bad game, they have to fight. I mean, they barely won a game against the 3-10 Cardinals a couple weeks ago because Trevor Lawrence couldn't get his thumb out of his ass. So,
ouch.
Yeah, I think if they're gonna, win their division, which I don't think they're.
Well, they're making the playoffs. I mean, they would have to basically
they're in the playoffs at this point.
They're going to make the playoffs.
If they want to win their division and they want to win games in the playoffs, Trevor Lawrence needs to figure his shit out. I don't think they're deserving of their division either way. I think the Texans are much more deserving of their division, as they've had a great resurgence in the last couple of weeks, but they're also have the best defense in the league. So, I mean, let's talk Texans now that we're here. Texans are the 7th seed in the AFC playoff picture, and their remaining schedule is wonderful for them. Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, Colts. Arguably, 3 of those games should be easy wins for them. And then at the Chargers should be a tough one. There's really, not much to say about them outside of the fact that if that defense keeps playing like that defense plays, they're golden, dude. I mean, that defense is so good. They held the Bills to 19 points. They held the Colts to 16 points, and they held the Chiefs to 10 points. Like, they are talented. So we'll see if they continue doing that. But that's really it. Can that defense keep playing good?
They started the season off 0-3, and we wrote them off. When you looked at, as sort of the games you play at the beginning of seasons, when you look at teams that start off 0-3, there's some horrific
very, very bad stats.
That says that you have a chance to make the playoffs. And from 0-3 to now 8-5, and the number one defense, who just seems to murder people, and they just are really, really, really good on that side of the ball. Coupled with the fact that C.J. Stroud, their starting quarterback, didn't look great to start the season.
No, he looked terrible.
I wouldn't say he's playing lights out at this point.
No, he's playing good enough to keep their team in it.
He's serviceable at this point. I would say similar to that of the Jaguars, who have a really good defense that keeps them in games as long as their quarterback doesn't ruin their game plan.
I'm going to say something crazy. I think Davis Mills is playing better football for them than C.J. Stroud has.
I think Davis Mills won the 2 or 3 games that he played this year for them.
He won against the Niners. He lost to the Broncos, and he won against the Jaguars.
Okay, so he won 2-1.
Oh, I'm sorry. He didn't play against the Niners. He lost to the Broncos and then beat the Jags and the Titans. Those were the 3 games he played.
Okay, so he won 2. So he did have 2 wins and 1 loss.
Yeah, and he had great stats in those games. I mean, he threw for 300 yards in 2 of those games almost, and then against the Broncos, we're not going to talk about it, but he sucked. But the 2 games
David Mills isn't playing football for the Texans as long as C.J. Stroud can play. So
he's healthy. Yeah. And in the last 2 weeks that they've played, they've scored 20 points each game, and I think he's thrown for a couple hundred yards and a touchdown and an interception.
If you can get into the 20s, I think with that defense,
that's all you need.
That's going to bode well. Yeah.
The C.J. Stroud just needs to not throw the game. All right, last 2 teams. Let's hit on them real quick, right quick. Steelers are very quick discussion. Uh,
wow, they're so
I don't think they're that good of a football team. But they're in a division that is so terrible.
Hot garbage.
That all
Hot
they need to do is honestly probably go 50-50. You know, they need to do what Mike Tomlin does best, which is go 500 this year to probably make it into the playoffs. So, yeah, they're rough. Their number 2 wide receiver is Adam Thielen, right? They're just a really old football team. So, we'll see what they can do. I don't have not much to discuss other than, you know, don't suck.
So terrible.
Don't let the Ravens catch up to you.
They're hard to watch. It's just,
yeah, they
almost
are
as hard as the Ravens are. God,
yeah,
geez.
The Ravens are just as bad.
I mean, just to really briefly speak on it, because we talked about it a little before we got going today. There's one team with a 4-9 record who has a chance to make the playoffs still with 4 weeks left, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. They're 4-9, and they're still not out of the playoff chase because they play in the same division as the Steelers, who are 7-6, and the Ravens, who are, what are they? 6-7.
6-7, dude. 6-7.
Oh, there we go. Snuck it in. Yay us. Who are 6-7. And they're all hot garbage. Nobody wants to win the division. We could potentially have a team this year, again, it's not the first time it will happen, who has a sub 500 record who makes the playoffs because they won their shitty ass division.
Yeah.
So they're hot garbage. They don't even deserve to be in the gosh darn playoffs. I don't want the NFL to change how they do the playoffs because I think it is fair if you win your division. But golly, pull your heads out, AFC North.
Yeah, it's bad.
Right,
we'll move on from them. The Chargers are a frisky team. They're number 5 seed. Yeah. They're in a wild card spot right now. They are, you know, I think they're proving every week that the way they started the season is how they're probably going to end the season. They had some faltering in the middle of the season where they struggled a bit, but since then they've really been good. You know, they just beat the Eagles at home in a crazy overtime shootout.
With their starting quarterback who had a broken hand.
Who has a broken hand. Yeah, Herbert's playing with a broken hand. He was a dick to some reporter, apparently. I think the guy was just happy that he won a football game. Either way, they looked great. Yeah, I know. But everyone's called him a dick, and I'm like, the guy was just celebrating with his team.
He was fine. He gave her the interview. It was fine.
Either way, I'm in support of Justin Herbert here. I don't think he was an actual dick. It was just what the reports are saying. I think that team's really good. They're playing really good. Harbaugh is a great coach, right? So we'll see what happens with them.
Honestly, they lost both their starting, potentially all pro tackles.
Yep, I did.
And so
they're still playing
together what they've done and be at 9-4 and still in the race to actually win their division is phenomenal.
Yeah, so, I guess big story for them is their remaining schedule. They got the Chiefs this week, which is going to be a fight, and then they have the Broncos the week after. Or sorry, they've got the Chiefs this week, the Cowboys, the Texans, and the Broncos to end the season. And 3 of those games are away games. And
the Cowboys are going to be playing because they're going to think they still got a shot to potentially get in.
Because the Cowboys probably beat the Vikings this week,
and the Broncos are a divisional game against Broncos are really good.
Yep.
And then who's the last game?
The Texans, the best defense in the league.
Oh my gosh, best defense in the league.
So yeah, the Chargers have
that's the hardest schedule to end the season.
100%.
That's the hardest schedule to end the season of all these.
They have a very unfavorable schedule. I do think they'll make it into the playoffs, but they might be making it into the playoffs as the 7th seed instead of the 5 seed. We'll see though.
Oh yeah, they're gonna make the playoffs.
If they the odds don't say that. If they lose this week against Kansas City, they drop to a 65% chance. It is rough. So hopefully they don't. I mean, honestly, you know, their destiny is up to them, but I do think they'll make it either way. I don't see the Colts or the. I really don't see the Colts rising up and getting into the playoffs, even though we're both rooting for them. But that's the only team that can really contest them at this point. So we'll see about that. And you know, that's really it. there's 3 teams that do have a chance, but we're not going to discuss them because they all have a 1% chance. The Chiefs, the
Not
Dolphins, the
until
Bengals.
we get closer. As we get closer in the next 2 weeks, we'll discuss.
The one team I'll argue and I'll give some credit to is the Dolphins, who are 6-7.
The comeback Dolphins.
The Dolphins, who are 6-7, they could do something fun, but I don't think they will. And even if they did, their team is such a mess that they don't go anywhere. So that's it for our review. There's one other thing that I want to touch on real quickly, and that is the Raiders are fixing football games, and Las Vegas needs to be they need to be looked into. Okay, Pete Carroll made the craziest decision ever to kick a field goal to flip the game odds. I think the over-under was 40.5 points, and that game ended with, 43 points scored total?
No, 41.
It was 41 points total. Yeah, so, and then they also, it was an 8.5 point differential against the Broncos. 7.5, and they ended up making it a 7-point differential. So, the Raiders need to be looked into because that is crazy that game ended the way it did. The only reason to kick a field goal there in anybody's eyes is because the Raiders were fucking with the odds. I don't think it's true. I think Pete Carroll's old and dumb, and he makes weird decisions, but...
So let me, since you brought it up,
I also looked into his reasoning, so if you want to explain it, feel free to. But,
so here's the situation. So the Denver was playing the Raiders in Las Vegas this last week. The over-under total points for the game was 40.5, and the point spread was the Broncos were favored by 7.5. So the game plays out the way it does. The Raiders get the ball back with less than a minute or something.
It's like a minute and a half.
And they are down 24-14, which means they're at 38 points, and they are losing by 10. So with under a minute and nothing really to play for at that point, the Raiders drive down, and with 5 seconds left, they kick a field goal instead of trying to put trying to play another
garbage time touchdown.
Either way, it wouldn't have mattered either way. But what you see most of the time at the end of games is the team that's going to clearly lose will play it out, and they'll continue to take shots into the end zone to at least get some practice to play, to see what they can do. You never see a team settle for a field goal to end the game when that's not what's going to win them the game or tie them the game.
Yeah.
However, and you and I were on the phone when this is happening.
As soon as it happened,
we both said it. As the decision was being made, I told you immediately. I said, check the odds. Yep. What is this point spread in this game? What's the over-under?
And I was already looking at it before you asked me. I was looking it up because I wanted to see it too. We both were questioning it.
And there it was, sure as shit. The field goal, if they made it, would have meant that they would have gone over on the points instead of under, which is what should have happened. And it meant that the Raiders covered. So with really no explanation at all, I thought and laughed that
the only explanation
anybody who was there from Denver bet on their team, which is what likely would have happened, knowing how terrible the Raiders are, that kicking that field goal would wreck a whole lot of people's good time in Vegas.
Let's discuss it further. Let's discuss it further.
But the explanation that was given was from Pete Carroll, the head coach, was that prior to that play, there was an amount on the clock that he thought was going to be 10 seconds, which if he kicks the field goal and potentially has time to then kick an onside kick, get that recovered, and potentially kick a long field goal, that he felt like there was enough time. However, I don't know what the hell he was thinking because there was never close to 10 seconds left on the clock. And he said he was fighting to get more time put on the clock because of how the play had ended previous. And none of it really adds up. And I don't know how, the A for effort on making up that sort of ludicrous explanation by him. But I don't know.
There's one team in the NFL that's in Las Vegas, and there's one team in the NFL that allows gambling in their stadium, and that is the Raiders. And I think I think, and this is my conspiracy theory, the hat's being put on, all right? I think the Raiders are an organization that doesn't care about wins or losses anymore, and all they care about is getting opposing teams' fans into that stadium to make bets on their team to end up losing it, all right? And that's what happened this week. The Raiders are an organization that is stealing money from people. That's it. But no. In actuality, I think Pete Carroll's just really dumb. I do think they should look into gambling in sports, though. This year has definitely proven that sports gambling is not good in any capacity because a single player can cause so much to happen one way or another.
The train has left the station. If you think for 1 second the quantity of money that's being funneled into the sports by way of gambling is going to stop or do anything to continue to grow, you're insane.
It won't, but they definitely need to look into it more in depth because
my advice to you and anybody who's listening is enjoy sports for all of what is good about sports. Keep your money in your bank account and don't gamble on sports because you don't really know. And we can have fun conversations like this and not lose any money while we're doing it. So
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for
next
this week.
We will review a lot of what we did this week. But hopefully we'll see some changes. We'll have some more updates, and let's see what happens with. We got some big games this week. Every week for the rest of the year is going to be all big games that we discuss. So.
Yeah, last week was a bit rushed, and obviously we didn't do our usual fantasy thing. We're probably not going to do it for the rest of this year. But
I got my ass kicked. I don't want to play.
Yeah, he got his ass kicked.
I'm waving the white flag.
I win this year. I win this year. Either way, next week will probably be a shorter episode. I think we rushed last week, and this week we went a little longer because we haven't had the time to do like a real sit down and discussion episode. But I think next week will probably be in between of what this week and last week was. We'll address what we talked about last week. We'll get it through. Either way, if you watched the whole episode, thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate everyone who watches the show. Just to end it off here, I've been Michael Vitt, and he's been
Mike Vitt.
And we've just been two Vitts talking shit. We love you. Goodbye.